Everybody, welcome to episode 96 of the Fantasy Timeline, a proud member of the Dynasty Addicts Podcast Network. I'm Josh at Real Fantasy TL. I'm with my main man, Bill at Super Duperflex, and my other main man, Drew at DR_PRA. Fellas, it is football eve. How are you guys doing?
Less than 24 hours. So excited.
Yeah, it's about time, This is a long off season, so pretty happy to be able to watch some real football. And we've been talking for the last 8 months trying to figure out what's going to happen this year, and we finally get to see how much we got right and wrong, because it's going to be both, and just hope we're a little more right than wrong. How you doing, brother?
I'm excited, man. I mean, they're a great game to start the season. I mean, they usually are. Usually the first game of the season are great games, but you get the Super Bowl champs and their million offensive weapons. You get the Dallas Cowboys and their million offensive weapons. So for fantasy purposes, this is kind of like a dream matchup. We're not looking at the elite defense against the unstoppable offense. It's a bunch of offense. Bucks are good on defense, so that I don't want to take anything away from them. But Dallas is not. So start all your Bucks. Do that, and I'm just ready to go. I'm just ready, man. I'm excited. So we got that out of the way. Let's hit the news. Running back heavy in the news this week. Lev Belle gets signed to the Ravens practice squad. And that's funny to me because I thought I remember at the beginning of the offseason saying that, he wasn't going to get taken advantage of again, and he was going to get his and blah, blah, blah. And we're going now to September before he gets signed to a practice squad. So that'll be interesting. We'll throw that up again real quick. Our main man, Short Logic, both of my boys left for college a couple weeks ago, so we have an empty house. Football is going to hit different this year, and I need it. Yo, Short Logic, after the show, I'm going to hit you up in the DMs. I need your address because my house is nowhere near being empty, so I'm going to have to come over and watch football at your place. But
I thought you said you were going to ship a kid over to him.
I don't want to put that evil on him. His kids are in college. He finally got them out. I ain't going to give him little ones again. But yeah, man, it's exciting. So about this Lev Bell news, and this is the question I want to ask. Obviously, I don't think it does anything as far as Gus Edwards' value, but are you now a little bit worried about Taysom or Tysum? I can't get the name right, but and his value, or is it more like this is just a whatever signing? It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about any depth behind. I don't see Le'Veon Bell coming in and making much of an impact. Even with a team that rushes with that kind of volume, he'll get a couple carries here and there. Maybe he'll vulture a TD here or there, but that's about it. So I'm still, if I'm in Dynasty, I'm still looking at the young guys. I forgot Tyson's last name as well, but I might as well take a flyer there versus we know what Lev Bell is at this point. We watched him the last couple of years kind of bouncing around and not making much noise at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's on the practice squad. I'm sure that's just for them to get a feel to see where he is before they make any decisions. And maybe he just needs to get into game shape, and that's why they're doing it, and he will play a role. I don't know how big of a role. I mean, I think he's going to be limited regardless because his biggest skill is catching the ball, and that's not really what they do there. So, his biggest strength is just decimated by the lack of passes to running backs. So, and his rushing is not that amazing, and it never really was, to be honest. Even at Michigan State, it wasn't his rushing, it was his receiving. So, Yeah, I'm not too worried about it. I mean, he's old. He's probably, not quite as motivated as he once was. So I'd rather roll the dice on like Tyson Williams or, whoever, Trenton Cannon.
Yep, Trent Cannon.
So like I would rather try to grab one of those guys. I mean, Williams is grabbed by everybody, but Cannon might be a good ad if you can get him and just to see what happens. But yeah, unfortunately, I think Belle he's nobody I really want to roster ever again. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys said. The only thing I will say is that a lot of people spent some fab, and I mean varying levels of fab. I saw some people get them for a penny, and some people went pretty deep into their fab wallet to get them. I think Lev Bell is going to affect him. Now that doesn't mean he should be in your lineup every week. That doesn't mean you should rush out if he's on your waiver wire and drop 80% of your fab to get him. But I think the people that did end up dropping a lot on Tyson Williams are going to be disappointed because I think the practice squad thing is, like Bill said, either to get him into game shape or just to get him in front of the playbook for a week or two, just so that he understands what's going on. Because, I mean, getting signed in September leaves you very little time to to read the playbook and understand everything you're supposed to be doing. So I think, but I mean, as far as Gus Edwards, I said that before I even asked the question. I don't think this does anything to Gus Edwards and what his value is, but I think it may hurt the Tyson Williams owners who spent a little bit of that fab to get him. So before I go to the next one, we got a question here from MB. So let's hit it and let's see if we got any goodness for him. He said, I got a question. I picked Julio over Pitts and Chris Carson. How bad do you think that will end up? My current tight end is Goddard. All right. So, Drew, why don't you start us off? Give us your opinion. You are the resident Tennessee Titans insider on the pod. So why don't you tell us what you think?
Don't label me that way. I did see Julio around town when he got here, though. I'm fine with that. Depending on the format, Chris Carson, he's I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. He tends to be underrated at the running back position. So I'd have been fine taking Julio or Carson over Pitts. I'm not bought into Pitts this year. So, whether this is redraft or season long or, if you're in a position to compete now, I'm totally fine with Julio over Pitts. Julio versus Carson based on your team needs, starting roster spots, etc. But I'm good with it. I like it.
What about you, Bill?
Yeah, I'm assuming this is for season long.
I don't know. MB, let us know. We'll talk about it and let us know if this is season long or
So if it's
dynasty.
season long, I get it. I think that, Pitts obviously has the big upside, and I see him going tight end 4 for the most part. So I think it's the percentages are that Goddard's going to outscore Pitts this year, I think. I just don't necessarily know he has the ceiling that Pitts may have. So Julio, we're acting like he had this monster decline last year or something. I get that the volume might not be the same, but he's still Julio, and typically talent, somebody when they're all world, their talent just doesn't fall off a cliff, and their production doesn't fall off a cliff. It's more of an arcing decline. So I don't expect, granted, there is a change in situation and, maybe the volume is less, but he also has a pretty incredible wide receiver across from him. There's going to be a lot of things that could help him out. It looks like MB says season long. So, yeah, I dig it, man, because Julio, I would argue, has as much upside, if not more, than Pitts. Granted, it's just the positional scarcity of the tight end, but I think covering or, hedging or arbitrage of Goddard is a pretty solid move. And I'm totally down with that decision. I think that I could probably argue all three of the players, but I think that Pitts is the least likely for me to have a really strong argument for. So I'm good with that pick.
Yeah, and I think Drew summed it up perfectly. It depends on where your team was at the time. Because I'm, in redraft and season long, I'm a RB heavy type drafter usually. So, depending on how my team looked at the time, I might have went Chris Carson over Julio, but I don't think that Tennessee gives up assets to bring in Julio and then just go, we're going to throw it like 25 times a game. Like I don't see the sense in that. And Peter Howard always says, there's no such thing as vacated targets, but talent dictates targets. And if Julio's healthy, Julio's one of the best in the league. He's going to dictate targets. AJ Brown is going to dictate targets. Good thing is that they have a running back who doesn't really dictate any targets. So you're not worrying about a Christian McCaffrey type running back that needs to get all these targets. So Julio's biggest thing is health. But if he's healthy, man, I think he will have the best season of the three. But the great thing about season long too is honestly, like, it doesn't matter who your tight end is. If you have a tight end, maybe you draft the 15th best tight end throughout the entirety of the season. He ain't gonna be on your team for the entirety of the season. You're gonna drop that guy and try to play matchups. You're gonna try to find maybe the guy that comes out on fire. Maybe and I don't believe in this guy, but maybe Tyler Higbee. The new look Rams offense, they come out firing. First game of the season, he's a stud. You pick him up, and he just continues that for the whole season. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry, there's a ton of guys in season long that you can kind of mix and match and put in and keep on your bench. So, yeah, you know what? If Goddard isn't the guy, and I do worry about Goddard a little bit because Zach Ertz is still in town, but if Goddard's not the guy, there's going to be a guy on the waiver wire every week. So I wouldn't even stress it about, maybe you should have taken Pitts because all you have is Goddard. Because if I'm right and Goddard's not that guy, there's going to be 2 or 3 guys every week probably on your waiver wire that you can go, all right, this guy might catch a touchdown or 60 yards, and that's probably all you're looking for out of the tight end position at that point. So, yeah, I mean, I see no problem with it at all. And honestly, if I was in your position, just not knowing what the rest of your team looked like, I probably would have picked Julio over both guys myself. So there you go. So, all right, let's hit our one other piece of newsworthy info, and then we're going to get to the timeline. Latavius Murray, we thought he was safe. He made it through the last week of cuts. There was rumors, hey, he might be going. And this ended up happening over money. I mean, doesn't it always happen over money? But what do you guys think about this? And where do you think where do you want him to end up? Let's not try to figure out where he will end up, but where would you want him to end up? Go ahead, Bill.
How about Houston? Isn't that where all of the old backs are going to die?
Bill, don't put that evil on him. Don't do that.
I don't really know where. Like, I mean, yeah, he didn't look good, right? Like during the preseason. I mean, Tony Jones looked like a whole different, level than Latavius. I think he's 32 years old now, I believe. And I mean, that's old for a back. And I mean, he's had a great career. I just don't know. Like, somebody will pick him up just because, maybe even Atlanta, because they only have 2 backs, I think. It's just Mike Davis and Gallman right now. So maybe, but he kind of plays a similar style, I guess. Like, I don't necessarily think he would add much, but it would have to be somewhere that they just don't have depth, right? And I don't know of anywhere that I can think of that makes a lot of sense. I think he's just going to have to he's gonna end up being like oh dang, I can't. Brain not working. There was a running back that just seemed like Lamar Miller, like where it's just all of a sudden like he was kind of bouncing around places, and it just, everybody always kind of had a little bit of hope because he had an Achilles, I think, but it's just one of those things where it never happened. And I think that's where we're at with Latavius now. Like, he's going to be a roster clogger, just not worth it. And get him off your roster and never add him again.
All right, Drew. Bill was very passionate. What are your thoughts?
Oh man, yeah, he's aging out. I mean, he's past that point where he's going to be a lot of value. If he's good for a locker room, I could see, a team picking him up for a few weeks to, step in, cover something, help a couple of young guys maybe get used to the playbook. But so I don't know. Jets. Outside of that, I think Bill said like Atlanta. I'm trying to think of any place that doesn't have depth, but I feel like everybody's got not only depth on their roster, but then they've got the practice squad behind them at this point. Everything's shuffling around now that preseason's done. So hard to say. He probably, sitting by the phone for a couple of weeks, and we'll see. I think he's good enough that he might get a call, if another major injury happens. I know San Diego, or not San Diego, the Chargers are dealing with some stuff right now, but they've got depth there already. So, I would agree. If you can get anything for him, take what you can get. Take a free pick.
All right.
I don't think you're getting shit for him, to be honest with you.
I don't think you're getting anything for him right now. But I know he didn't look good in the preseason. I'm not going to argue these points because they are correct. But he looked good last season. And I think there are a few teams. Jerry O'Shea, our main man from Ireland, mentioned the Ravens. I mean, he was better than Lev Bell last year. I mean, we can talk about the name and what the cachet was, but if we just look at what happened on the field in 2020, Lat Murray was better. The Jets, that was a good one. That's one I didn't even think of because I also thought of the Falcons because, as much as people want to say, Mike Davis ain't anything and Wayne Gallman is, maybe better than Mike Davis, and okay, but Latavius Murray could come in there and probably make a bad situation worse because who knows who would win that three-way battle. But he could provide depth. What about Jacksonville? It's kind of James Robinson and Carlos Hyde. Like, all right, sure. I mean, if that's your cup of tea, Bill said Houston, and I think he just wants to put all the evil on Latavius Murray because he doesn't like him. The Chargers was another good one. Austin Eckler didn't practice today. Justin Jackson hasn't played all preseason because he's been dealing with some stuff. So, week one, if this Austin Eckler thing is serious, could be Larry Roundtree. Is that the guy you want? But I don't think there's a spot where he can come in. I think his best case scenario is kind of doing what he did last year, being a very good backup to a very good running back. And that's his best case snenario. His worst case scenario could be kind of what Drew and Bill described, where it's like he's just going to be there. He's, maybe going to come out for a play or two every series. Maybe he ends up with, 6 carries and 2 catches. And what do you do with that?
How about the Washington? They have 2 kind of receiving backs, and they don't have a kind of a thumper. They have Jarrett Patterson as their third. McKissick and you guys are gonna have to help my brain. Gibson.
You got him on the OG team.
Yeah. So
the truth.
But you know what I mean? He might be somebody that will help at goal line situations and stuff like that. So he would be an interesting ad there just for like the combination of the backs. Like he offers something that the other guys don't. So
our man Short Logic brings up Minnesota, and that would be interesting not only for the homecoming, but we could pretty much chalk up in a 17-game season. Dalvin Cook is probably missing at least 3. And we saw Alexander Madison last year. He was something. He was there. He did things. But I feel like Latavius Murray would be a better back for that kind of at least 3 games that you are going to need him. So that's a possibility too. I think it's going to be very interesting where the money lies, because obviously he did not want to take a pay cut from the Saints, and they cut him. And I don't know what the pay cut was to, but I don't even know if he's going to make that now at this late point of the season where teams have literally done final cuts. They've looked at all their guys. They've looked at other guys around the league, and, they've kind of allocated their funds where they want to. I mean, I think he's going to get signed somewhere, but I'm curious to see if he gets signed for as much or more money than this pay cut would have entailed. So that's going to be very interesting. But that's the news. Let's get into the timeline. And the first one here is from Gerald Iwayan. Gerald, I'm sorry if I messed up your name. At Gerald FF Dynasty 1. But he's got a pressing fantasy football question for the Jaguars, about the Jaguars. Which wide receiver is the best value at their current ADP, PPR leagues? Laviska Shenault at wide receiver 38, DJ Chark right behind him at wide receiver 39, or Marvin Jones at wide receiver 49. So which guy do you want the most at their current ADP? Drew, why don't you start us off?
I will go with Marvin Jones. I'll take the later pick. Looking at last year in some of the safe leagues, which are pretty standard PPR leagues, I know it's a different team, but Marvin Jones is averaging over 14 points per game. If you think that Laviska is going to benefit from ATN being out and you like the combination that he brings, then I could see paying up. I would say Chark is the last one out of the group that I would pick. Either pay up and get Laviska, hoping that he gets all the extra touches now and he can boost his points per game, or sit back and wait and take Marvin Jones, who seems to have an early connection with Lawrence anyways.
Bill?
This is an interesting question just because there's so many. Like, I think you're going to have an argument for all 3. I think this is a really good one. Adding to what Drew said about gosh dang it, Marvin Jones. He also their offensive coordinator was the Lions' offensive coordinator, so he's coming into a system he's familiar with, and so at least partially, you know what I mean. Like, I know that Urban's gonna do his thing, so, and he might be the real actual offensive coordinator, but so that's intriguing. But I just don't think there's enough upside with Marvin anymore. I mean, I love Marvin Jones. He was always my underrated wide receiver. Perennially, just you could get him for wide receiver 4 and he'll be a wide receiver 2 for you. It's just free money every season. But I'm a little hesitant to the first year in a new offense ish. And so I think I'm going Chark here. So Drew and I are the complete opposites here. I still like Chark's upside. I think he's the one guy that I feel I know his role. I know he was banged up, and he's not ever going to be necessarily a wide receiver 1, but I think he can outkick his coverage a little bit, and yeah, I think he's my guy.
All right. So one of you guys was right. And that guy was Drew. Drew was right. Marvin Jones wide receiver 49. That's disrespectful. Bill's leaving because he knows I'm right. Only reason why he doesn't like Marvin Jones anymore is because he left Detroit. Listen, Bill brought it up. Darrell Bevel, the OC in Jacksonville, former OC in Detroit. Looks like a lot of the concepts are the same between the two systems. Obviously, Urban Meyer is putting his own touches and doing his own things with that offense as well. But what is a rookie quarterback going to look for? The guy who knows what he's doing. That ain't DJ Chark. That ain't Laviska Shenault. That is Old Faithful Marvin Jones. And the fact that he is wide receiver 49, I don't even want to bring up the rankings and see some of these wide receivers that are getting taken ahead of him because I think it'll anger me. But him at 49, come on. We know that he can go out there. He can do what he's supposed to do. He can get open. And I think Trevor Lawrence is going to look that way a lot because he's going to know that Marvin Jones is where he's supposed to be. And he's going to be open. So, yeah, it's Marvin Jones for me all day. Gerald, thank you for the question because it was a good one. If this was a debate you were having, I hope you selected Marvin Jones as well. I'm reading Short Logic here. Marvin Jones going to score 4 TDs on your bench and then get you 2.7 points the next week. You wasn't watching that season last year. He was pretty dang consistent. So, I'm just saying, he going to be good this year. He's going to be better than wide receiver 49. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, for sure.
And, can the other guys beat their ADP? Yeah, but I don't think they can beat their ADP by as much as Marvin Jones can beat his. So, like one of you guys said, give me that free money. Give me that free space in my lineup. I'll just put him out in that flex every week, and just make money. That's what we're here for: winning games, winning leagues, and making money. So, do that. All right, next one here is from Luke Sawhook at Luke Sawhook. Which rookie wide receiver will have a better fantasy season, Jamar Chase or Devonta Smith? And I thought this was going to be an interesting one because I think in April, when the draft was, I think we all would have said Jamar Chase, and maybe we all say Jamar Chase now. I don't know what you guys are going to say. So, but we've been hearing the reports that, Jamar Chase can't catch and, he's, scared. I don't know what his deal is, but he's, maybe he's not the guy we thought he was, before his first game of his pro career. And, we've watched the preseason and, oh, man, look at this Devonta Smith guy. He looks pretty good. He's catching all this stuff. Jalen Hurts is looking his way, So I'm not sure if you guys have bought into the hype on either player or both players, but for me, it would be Jamar Chase. I think he is going to have the better season. I think he has the better quarterback. I think he has better weapons around him to kind of not pull all of that defensive pressure in his way. So that's my guy. It's Jamar Chase. I had him as the first non-quarterback player in my rookie rankings. So, Bill, what do you got? Is it Jamar or is it our man Devonta Smith?
So for the first, this is for this year. This isn't for Dynasty.
This is for
I'm Chase totally.
This is for
just
this year.
to say that. But we got to take into account that Chase hasn't played in a long time. So he's getting back into form. How long is that going to take him to get back into form? I don't know the answer. Then we have another guy who played, his whole all last season, just destroyed, and he's probably going to be the number one target in the at least wide receiver target on the offense. So I don't know how. I mean, the quarterback obviously is not as good, like you say, but I feel like he has a better shot to outperform this year. But I need to be clear. This is totally just season long. This is not dynasty, because I no question want Jamar Chase on my dynasty team. So don't be making me offers for Chase, for Devonta Smith in our dynasty leagues. I'm totally cool having Devonta this year. I just feel like he's already running, and I get it. He weighs like 83 pounds, and
I had a little boo boo already.
Yeah, and that is a concern, but at the same time, he's already in form, so I feel more comfortable having him on my team this year.
All right, Drew. So break the tie just for this season.
Man, it's tough. There's so many things that swing the pendulum back and forth, and so many parallels for these guys, right? They're both playing with college quarterbacks that they used to be teammates with. The volume is very different in both teams. However, if I look at the defenses that Philly's going up against versus the defenses that Cincinnati's going up against, that can balance it out a little bit more. I think for this year, I still lean Chase. I believe in the volume. I believe in the talent. I believe in the connection with Joe Burrow. I think there were some games that Smith will absolutely blow up, and he will look 100% like the Heisman winner that he was. But who's to say that if Chase played last year, he wouldn't have been in Heisman contention as well. So I think both for this year and for Dynasty, I lean Chase. I looked up Mike Clay's projections just to see how far off I was earlier today, and it's eerily close how similar Mike Clay has both of them. I think almost the exact same number of targets, and within like 5 or 6 PPR points is what he's guessing for them. So I think it'll be close either way. It's a great question, but I lean Chase.
So Drew and I got it right. Bill was off in his own spot, and he actually had to step away for a minute. So he's definitely off in his own spot now. But Drew, it's interesting you brought up the defenses that both teams will have to play in their own division. But I think we should also look at the defenses for those teams, for those two teams in particular. And I mean, Philly's got a better defense than Cincinnati, and it's not even close. So that could actually lead to Joe Burrow having to air it out more, because that defense in Cincinnati is going to give up a ton of points. So, but yeah, man, I mean, like you mentioned, Drew, the Mike Clay projections have them pretty close to each other. So, I mean, I think if both guys stay healthy, I think they're both going to be a ton of fun to watch. So, either way, when they're on your TV screen, you're going to enjoy what you see. So, that's the most important thing. So, got another one here from David Mendelson at DMendy02. How would you rank the following order of running backs? So I'm just going to name the running backs, and you guys can put in your order. Aaron Jones, Zeke Elliott, Austin Eckler, and Saquon Barkley. And I did pull this question before the Austin Eckler news came out. So when I give my rankings, I'm going to pretend that he is healthy. Obviously, if it comes out later on that he has a major injury, he's going to miss a bunch of weeks. That would change things, but we don't know what's going on there yet. So I would actually put Saquon at 1. I would put Zeke Elliott at 2. I would put Eckler at 3 and Aaron Jones at 4. And listen, Saquon may have the biggest boom or bust potential here. If he's healthy and he stays healthy all year, I think he is a league winner. He can catch, he can run, and as much as the Giants may have improved on offense, I still think he is by far their best offensive weapon. So the coaching staff there would be foolish not to use him. Zeke Elliott, I know. Zeke Elliott died last year. RIP to his career. He only finished as RB10 in fantasy, so we got to bury him and put him in the ground. But I have him at second because let's face it, out of all four of these guys and their pass catching ability, he is probably third, maybe even fourth on that list, depending on how you want to match up Aaron Jones versus Zeke Elliott. But he's still a pretty good pass catcher. Now, obviously, Dallas has three really good wide receivers, but I think he's a guy who also can be a league winner for you. And then you got Austin Eckler. Obviously, if he's really hurt, this changes everything. But the guy just catches, everything thrown to him. And in PPR, that's gold. He's not going to run as much as these other three guys. Probably he's not going to rush as much, but he's going to catch a whole hell of a lot. I like Justin Herbert, and I think that offense is going to be just fine this year. And then lastly, Aaron Jones. And this isn't like I hate Aaron Jones, but I do think A.J. Dillon is still going to be involved. I don't think this is totally now 85% snap share for Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon is not going to be a part of this. I think he's going to have a bigger part than maybe a lot of people project, and I think that's the reason why I have him at 4. But why don't one of you guys jump in and throw your order out there?
Bill just gave me the finger. I'm a little different. Number 1 is the same. Saquon all the way. I think Saquon at 85 or 90% is still number 1 for me in this group. The explosive talent, like you said, he can catch, he can rush, make guys miss. He can do it on his own. He doesn't have to have, a great line in front of him. So I have him in a couple of season-long leagues, and I am hoping he is, in fact, a league winner. I just got him at 19th overall in my home league, which felt great. Standard league, though, not PPR, but even so. Number 2, I've actually got Aaron Jones number 2. I think this is the year that Rodgers, tries to make another statement in another way, and he's got the guys that he trusts, right? So Aaron Jones is a guy he trusts. He's gone to bat for him when he was younger. He's thrown some crazy passes his way. So I think Aaron Jones for this year is my number 2 on this list. Very, very close behind is Zeke. I think Zeke can do it all, and I do expect a little bit of a bounce back for him. I think the other options are a little bit of a hindrance for me here. There's going to be so many options when Dak drops back, whether it's dumping it off, hitting somebody, hitting CD as he steps into his own. There could be some games where Zeke is the RB1 this year, but I think overall, I think he ends up behind the other 2 guys. And then I like Austin Eckler. I've just never been willing to take the risk on him and his health, but I think when he's healthy, like you said, he's a PPR machine, which is great. We'll see what the Chargers need to do, though. Will they need to throw a ton? Will they be able to control a little bit more this year and not have to? And then will he stay healthy? So it goes in that order for me. Saquon, Jones and Zeke are basically 2A and 2B. For me.
So do you think that Jones will finish better than Zeke for fantasy this year?
If I had to choose one or the other, I do. I think they'll be very close. But yes, I think Aaron Jones will finish ahead of Zeke in RB rankings this year.
Should we do a little wager for charity on that? Put 5 on it, like the song used to say. Put 5 on it for charity.
I'm open.
All right,
I'm open.
So Drew's taking Aaron Jones. I'll take Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott's gonna probably have 7 catches on Thursday just because they're gonna be trailing that whole damn game. So Dak is probably gonna have to throw it about 55 times. So all right, cool. So we put a little 5 on it for charity, just to make things interesting. I like doing stuff like that, especially when it's for charity. So All right, Bill. Why don't you come in and hit us with your order?
Yep. So it's unanimous for Saquon at the 1. The upside is just monumental compared to anybody else's. And then I tend to agree with Drew. I mean, the last 2 seasons, just in points per game, Aaron Jones was 4th and 6th overall for running backs. So it's like, I mean, it's just consistency, man. And like he just, there's no Jamal Williams there. Granted, AJ Dillon is there. Maybe he does steal some touchdowns, but that might push Aaron Jones into a little bit more of a receiving role. So I'm not worried about receiving at all from AJ Dillon. So it's like, I agree. It's 2A, 2B. I don't think that I feel bad with either of these guys. I'm not I drafted Aaron Jones a lot when he was a rookie. But then I moved him. So like I have like 0 of him on any of my teams now. So it's interesting that I'm saying Aaron Jones here because like, you would think that I would be leaning towards somebody I have more of, like which I do of Zeke. So I think I do agree exactly with what Drew said. I think Zeke's going to be a lot more hit or miss depending on game flow, that sort of thing. But I think he might have more monster games. So it's just a preference thing. And then Eckler, like I love Eckler. Like I have a ton of him. I have, again, another guy I liked when he was his rookie season. And but new offense, we don't know how they're going to be used. This is a really good question because every player has their pluses and minuses. I mean, he has nobody behind him. So it's like, it's the gap between the 4. Like I could see somebody picking any of these guys just based on, what they prefer, what their risk tolerance is, right? Like, I mean, the risk tolerance with Saquon is just, does he recover? But, I like this. This was one that was like all 4 of them. Eckler's probably the only one I would like. He's kind of a little bit further down compared to the other 3, in my opinion. But yeah, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I liked it because usually you get a question like this, and it's like 3 of those guys, and then the 4th guy is like Mike Davis, and you're like, well, obviously, like Mike Davis is going to be in 4th place. We already know that, But this was 4 guys that you could put together a realistic argument to make any of those guys one. Not necessarily that you would draft Austin Eckler over all 3 of those guys, but you could at least put together a scenario where Austin Eckler ends the season ahead of all 3 of those guys. Saquon, does he get injured again? Zeke, that offensive line is good, but they're old. They could fall apart again. Can Dak recover all the way? And then you go to Aaron Jones. Are you going to see more AJ Dillon than you want to? There's even been kind of preseason talks about Kylan Hill. Are you? So there's definitely an argument to be made, kind of where you can put together a scenario and say, all right, this guy is going to be number 1, and here's the reason why. But Bill, since you were out here disrespecting the good name of Zeke Elliott too, do you want to put 5 on it for charity?
No, if you feel like, how about why don't we just give me Eckler?
Oh, we're doing the 3-way dance.
I mean, let's
here.
make it interesting. Let's not have the same bet. So I'll take the hit. It's okay.
I'll take the what's for charity.
Eckler is 1 Mike Williams and or Keenan Allen injury away from having 12 to 15 catches any given week.
Listen.
Yeah, it'll be fun. What the hell? Just keep track. You keep track.
I don't even think Mike. I don't even think Mike Williams needs to be injured for that, because we talk about Mike Williams like he's a thing, and he shows up in one way or another. It's either double-digit touchdowns or 1,000-yard season, or he's hurt for 8 games. But I'm tired of Mike Williams and all the people that tout him, because just sometimes it doesn't work out for a guy, and I feel like that's what Mike Williams is. So have him at your own risk. All right, so this next one here is from Pick Sanchez. I kind of like that name, Pick Sanchez. At Mania Pick, am I crazy for starting Jalen Hurts versus Atlanta over Dak Prescott versus Tampa Bay on week 1? Yes, but I will let you guys. I will let you guys go because everybody knows how I feel about Jalen Hurts, and everybody knows how I feel like this game is going to go for the Cowboys against the Buccaneers. So, Bill, is he crazy?
I think he's overvaluing matchups. Sometimes you just got to pick the best player, and I feel like, there's a lot of unknown with Hurts still. Like, I mean, he struggles on intermediate passes. There's a lot of things that defenses have a year to observe and figure out even more of his weaknesses. So, like, I wouldn't be real confident starting him this week over Dak. I think that, you kind of know what you're getting with Dak regardless. Even if he's not uber mobile, like, he's still going to be able to, he's still Dak, and that offense is still going to be prolific. Does he struggle? Is he not going to, does he get a 20-yard run that he would have last year? Maybe not, still working things out, getting confident, that sort of thing. As for Hurts, like, he may end up scoring Dak, but there's no way that that's the most likely scenario this week. So, like, I would just rather go with the elite quarterback, and, it's the safer pick, and it's the most likely pick to outscore the other.
All right, Drew, what are your thoughts? Is he crazy? Is Pick crazy here?
This is not my field of expertise as a doctor, so I don't comment on people's mental state. But no, I don't think you're crazy, but I definitely wouldn't do it. I think that's getting too cute, and I think that's hoping for too much. If you had the right league settings, you could probably make a case, like if it's four points for a passing touchdown versus 6 points for a rushing touchdown. But even then, the math gets tricky. So I would not go there. I'm only starting Hurts in a couple of leagues where I feel like I have to. I'll throw this out there. Would you rather start Hurts or Trevor Lawrence this week? That's one that I had to pick for my QB2 in one league.
Trevor Lawrence, as he fillets that Houston Texans. I guess they're a team, but that group of players in Houston. I would go Trevor Lawrence there. I may not take Trevor Lawrence any other week, but against Houston, I'll say Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I don't know. I might go Hurts there. Trevor Lawrence is going to be amazing, I feel like. I'd rather just go Hurts in that regard. And, until I see it, I always struggle that first game for a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks traditionally are not, world beaters. Luck struggled, Manning struggled, all these guys struggle. It's a good year as being like a QB 14, 15 for a rookie. So I'd rather go Hurts in that regard, especially for the first game. But Josh, talking matchups, that's more of a legitimate argument for quarterbacks of the same ilk, like those two,
And that's what I said. I said, now, next week when they play a real NFL team, I may not go Trevor Lawrence, but against whatever Houston's got going on right now, give me Trevor Lawrence. And, and here's the thing. I don't know if there is a big gap. Bill brought up a good point about sometimes we look too much into matchups, especially this early in the season, because we don't know what these teams are. Both of these teams have entirely new coaching staffs. So everything that we thought we knew from last year, we can throw it out the window because two new coaching staffs, they're going to put their philosophies in. both offensively and defensively. But kind of talent-wise and on paper, I mean, I feel like Atlanta and Philadelphia are pretty close. If I had to guess, I would say this is going to be a close game. And, close games usually rely on rushing games at that point and not so much the throwing. So, that's another reason. I mean, we look at Tampa Bay and Dallas on paper and we go, one team is clearly better than the other team, and one team is probably going to need to do everything in their power just to kind of stay, in it, which is also another reason why, I would like a Dak. But yes, I think you're crazy, but that's also because I'm not as high on Jalen Hurts as a lot of other people are. So, obviously I'm biased, just not in the way that, most people would think I am as a Dallas Cowboys fan. So, we got anything else, fellas? We got any other questions? Any other questions in the chat? I actually feel like we went little under than we normally do. Actually, I can just here you go.
Who's gonna surprise this week? Like somebody that's like maybe you thought is going to be a kind of your quiet sleeper that you really haven't mentioned too much, but it's always been at the back of your head this off season, and you think this is gonna be their time.
Just for the season or for week one?
I mean, I would say for the season, but this is the first step into a season, so it'd be nice to get a good start.
It would be nice to get a good. That's a good question. So, I'm looking at an old list that I have here, just kind of trying to cycle down some of the lower guys that I'm like, oh yeah, you know what, I do like this guy, and I haven't really talked about him.
I mean, it could even be a rookie that you thought, hey, this guy's gonna be a surprise this year. What do you got, Drew? You got an idea?
Not a rookie, second-year guy. I've been quietly collecting a lot of Cole Kmet on different rosters. Waiting for week one to get over with so they can finally start Justin Fields appropriately. I don't expect him to set the world on fire, but I think he'll step in and be a very consistent weapon for Fields, and I think that could be a really, really nice relationship moving forward. I'm looking at some quarterbacks here, and I know you got your puppy this past week, so I got my Duke shirt on here to rep DJ. So I'm hoping that Daniel Jones has a bounce back. I think a lot of people have been super low on him, so we're hyping up the ceiling for Saquon and some of the weapons that he's got back. But so I'd like to think that maybe he puts it together this year. I know last year he had he had a lot of rough weeks, including the week that he got sniped, and I just can't get that loop out of my head. But I think he has a chance to put some things together this year as a quarterback. So I think he's somebody that people have gotten for a lot less than they should. And hopefully this is a good week for him to start the season on the right foot.
All right. I got two guys. So Drew inspired me with his quarterback pick. Famous Jameis. A lot of the preseason was who's going to win that job. Is it Jameis? Is it Taysom Hill? Which way are they going to go? Then they locked it down and they said, all right, Jameis is our guy. And honestly, I don't think they wanted to have Jameis be their guy. Everything you hear from Sean Payton is that he loves Taysom Hill. His big project has always been to kind of make Taysom Hill into a quarterback. But Jameis came out there and won the job. In the eyes of the coaching staff, I don't want to argue who's better and who's not better, because that's not what I'm here to do. The coaching staff has spoken. But if Sean Payton is able to harness the big arm and the, fearless mentality of Jameis while cutting down on the mistakes. You're never going to eliminate the Jameis mistakes because guys like that are always willing to try to, make a throw that maybe they shouldn't. But if Sean Payton has done that, I think Jameis could be pretty good. Obviously Michael Thomas is out for 6 weeks, but everybody loves, Marquez Callaway. They still have Alvin Kamara. Bill mentioned earlier, Tony Jones has kind of flashed onto the scene a little bit. Jawan, oh man, I'm blanking on his last name. The tight end that's kind of broken out. I think Jawan Johnson. Thank you. Williams was stuck in my head for some reason. He looks like maybe he can be a bigger, and I mean that because he's 6'7", weapon in the game, in the passing game there. I'm not saying he's going to go, 30-30 like he did in Tampa Bay. I think he's going to cut down on the turnovers, but if he gets you, 30 to 35 touchdowns, I think he could surprise a little bit. And then I haven't talked about him a lot this year, but I talked about him a ton last year during rookie drafts. Brian Edwards. Obviously, Darren Waller is the number one pass catching weapon for the Las Vegas Raiders. But I know a lot of people are high on Henry Ruggs, and I think Henry Ruggs has a specific skill set, but I think Brian Edwards does more of what you want a professional football player to do. So, those would be my two guys. You got anyone, Bill?
Yeah, I think Paris Campbell is interesting. I think he's just, he had the targets that first week and then he got hurt. And I have some hope that he's going to fall right back into that. We'll see. He's not going to be the top guy. I think Pittman will be that guy. But Paris Campbell is pretty inexpensive. So he's a guy that I like. I'm always happy when I look at a roster and he's on it. I feel like the upside for him is so high compared to the cost that he's just somebody that I'm really looking forward to, because there's been hope for him the last couple of years, but he just can't stay on the field. So, everybody, he was picked way earlier than McLaurin, two guys from the same team, and McLaurin just fell into it, and Paris just can't, get his strides. So hopefully he can at least show me that I'm right or wrong this year, as opposed to just waiting and seeing, that he's hurt again and we still don't know. It's like Jalen Hurd, so the guy can't get on the damn field. So Short Logic has a question. What tight end do you all think has the best shot to jump into that top tier with the big three this year? For me, it's Hawk. I think actually it's Hawk or it's my brain. Go on.
Blake Jarwin. That's what you wanted to say.
Yeah.
Andrews.
Mark Andrews. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's got to be one of those two guys, in my opinion. I think Andrews, JJ Zacharyson was just even talking about it today, I think, or this week, about how regardless, he's still getting 20% target share. And as a tight end, that's incredible. And if for whatever reason they can't run it as much as they have, if their volume goes up even reasonably, to closer to 500 passes, him getting, a decent amount of targets, he could take that step up to the top three. And maybe he won't be part of the quote unquote top three, but it might be a top 4 or 5 with all of those guys kind of tiered together as opposed to being a tier below.
Drew, you got any additions to the to that race?
Nope. Andrews, I think they believe in him. They paid him. Lamar loves him. Wide receivers can't stay healthy. Dobbins isn't playing. He'd be my pick. And then, yes, I would agree. Hawk is shortly after him.
I got Hawk jumping into there, but back to Mark Andrews because I thought this was funny. You know, we talk about what's going on the Twitter machine. When Mark Andrews got paid, the amount of people that I saw say, "Oh man, I hope he was going to become a free agent and go to like a really good passing offense," and it's like, but he doesn't need to. He's in that offense, and yes, they don't pass as much as a lot of other teams in the league. But you know what they do? They pass it a lot to Mark Andrews. So why would you want to go somewhere else where they may throw it 100 more times or 200 more times in a season, but they're not throwing it to you. I mean, I didn't get that level of hate about it, but there were a lot of people who were like, man, I was hoping he would go, here or there or everywhere where they throw the ball more. And I'm just like, okay. But hey, here's a wild card because Bill hated on him, and I'm gonna stoke the fire a little bit. Kyle Pitts. I mean, it's Calvin Ridley, and that's it. Besides, and then Kyle Pitts. So I think volume will be there because Atlanta, as much as you may or may not like Matt Ryan, they usually are one of the upper level teams in pass attempts for a season. They're usually top 5 to 8-ish in that category. And I mean, listen, a lot of people believe that Russell Gage might do something. I don't have that level of confidence. Olamide Zaccheaus, whoever else may be there. So, I mean, opportunity will be there. He will have attempts go his way. It would be the best rookie tight end season of all time if he does that. But opportunity's there. So if I wanted to throw a dark horse in there, because I agree, I think Hockenson and Andrews have a much better shot of completing the task. But I'll do what Bill did. I don't want to be just like, say the same answers all the time. So I'll throw the dark horse and Kyle Pitts in there.
Just curious, going off this question, which of the top 3 is most likely to get replaced this year?
I think we would all agree on this, but I could be wrong. George Kittle. I just think that it's probably going to be due to health, just because we've kind of seen it before with George Kittle. I think if he plays 17, I don't think any of those guys get replaced. But he's got the biggest injury history, I guess. So I would say he would be the one to be replaced.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, Josh is probably right. I think my biggest concern, if it's just situationally, is Waller, just because like they are adding other possibilities. But I doubt, like, I think he's just now one of those studs. So like he would be like the one I would go, I'm a little more worried about it. But again, Kittle, like if you end up with Trey Lance as the quarterback, like who knows what's going to happen there too. So, I mean, maybe situationally it is also Kittle. I love George Kittle. Like, I mean, that dude just plays football the way I want to watch, and so like it hurts me to even say that, like, just as a fan, but yeah, like he's probably the right answer, sadly.
Yeah, that's what I had in mind.
So we all came up with the same guy because
cool. Well, good question. That was
it's
something to think about. Like if you have him like he's my most rostered tight end. So like that's something that maybe I need to like evaluate about making a few moves, because if that's even somewhat likely, then maybe I need to get out of a few of those. So on teams, especially if I'm not like it's not like a premium or I'm not competing or contending. So Yeah, that's a good exercise to think about that kind of thing.
And I think in your situation, Bill, you may want to wait till after this week 1 matchup.
Oh, I'm not doing
Ju-
anything today. Yeah, for sure.
just because I think at this point, I think you need that first blow up game from Kittle.
Well, you should be
Because
doing that with your veterans regardless, to be honest with you. Like this is the time that you wait until those vets start playing before you even think about making a move, or you're not seeing any of the benefit. So
well,
people got to be reminded these guys are great sometimes.
well, and I think too, a lot of times the preseason is when we start kind of thinking about vets the way we should again, because we get it. It's rookie draft season. As soon as the season is over, rookie draft season. All right, like rookies, who's going here, who got drafted where, and then it's not really until like preseason starts where you go, oh yeah, like this guy who's 28, because at this point 28 is ancient and decrepit. Oh yeah, like he's still really good. I forgot about that. I think it's still the value's still a little too low on Kittle just because he got hurt, and I say we as the community has been hyping up Brandon Ayuk. There may be still a little depressed value on him, even though he is one of those vets that we should be on the upswing at this point in the season. But I mean, the first time he goes, 8 for 120 and 2 touchdowns. Okay, George Kittle, tight end 1. Let's go. Like, we're going to be back on that massive upswing because we started so low in the beginning. And then I think is the time where you're like, oh, I got him in this, non-premium league. Hey, what do you want for him? Oh, you want to give me a first and, whatever, another tight end? Sure. Okay. Like, let's do that, And that's why I think I was saying more like wait for that first good game, because I think even though he is a vet, there's still that like, oh man, like we said, he could be the guy that's out of the top 3 this year for Hawk or Mark Andrews or Kyle Pitts or whoever you think the next guy to come up is. And once you see him, like you said, Bill, play the game that like every fan wants to see the game played, you're going to be like, oh yeah, like I love this guy. He plays hard every play. He catches everything thrown to him, and he's a monster. So that's that. But you know what? That I think we should end on that note. Great episodes, fellas. You guys are awesome. I'm just here so I won't get fined. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Appreciate it. Short Logic, MB, everyone else. You guys make the show more fun, and that's why we do this thing. So appreciate you guys. If you are watching this on YouTube, remember to hit the bell, hit subscribe so that you are alerted every time that we come on and do our thing. If you're listening in podcast form and you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. Rate and review also so we can get out there in front of as many people as we can. And on that note, we are out of here.